Miss Obermeyer, and today I'm going to show you how to use the selection tools for a variety of different purposes. These videos are in two parts. The first part will be about what a selection tool is, the rectangular, elliptical, lasso, polygonal selection tools. We're going to go over those. We'll talk about what a new selection is, what unite is, what subtract is, all right, in a selection. The second video will be going over the magnetic selection, quick selection, magic wand, invert selection, mask selection, and duplicating and borrowing a selection. All right, so first off, we are going to open a picture to practice with. And for my students, I've given you a practice picture of me. Because we're working on our double exposure pictures, we're starting with a profile picture. So we're learning many tools and techniques that you will be able to combine together and experiment with to come up with your own unique image. Okay, so first off, let's talk about what a selection tool is. A selection tool allows you to define a very specific area within your image in which whatever action you happen to do, it will only happen within the selection that you've made. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. First off, in our selection tools are in the first three. They're right below the move tool. So we have 3 drawers full of selection tools. All right, so we're going to click on the first drawer and hold. Underneath we have the rectangular, on top we have the rectangular select, and beneath that we have the elliptical select. We're going to go with the rectangular select first. Okay, and we have options for our selection tools up here on the options bar. So here we have the replace option, which really is the same thing as make a new selection. The next one is the unite option, which is add to the selection. This one is the subtract from the selection. And then this one I really don't use very often, but there is an intersect with selection. All right, we're going to go to make a new selection, and I'm going to go over to the side of my picture in the white area and click and drag. Okay, and let me show you again how I did that. I'm going to click and drag to make my rectangular selection or square selection. As I move it around, you can see the dimensions change. Okay, so you can decide how big and exactly what dimensions you would like your rectangle or square to be. When I let go of the mouse, then it creates the selection. So the dotted line, the flashing dotted line, is my selection. All right, so one of the things we can do within a selection is we could paint within the selection. So I'm going to go over to the toolbar and choose the brush tool. All right, I'm going to pick a nice bright color. Let's see, let's go with a nice red. Push OK. And all the other options we can kind of leave as they are. I'm going to use the bracket tools on the keyboard to the left of the letter P to make the brush bigger. You can also make the brush bigger with the size slider up at the top there. All right, now I am going to take my brush, and normally if I painted over this picture, I'd be painting on the pixels and painting over my face. Okay, but because that is not part of the selection, it keeps it protected. It's not going to paint over it. All right, so I'm going to click and drag it all the way across, and you can see it only allows me to paint within that selection. All right, so no matter what I do, it stays within the boundaries, okay, of my selection. All right, so that is what a selection does. It contains the action within those boundaries. All right, so that we can start a new selection, we need to deselect this one. To deselect, you can go to the menu bar and go to Select and go to the Deselect in the drop-down. All right, there's also a keyboard shortcut of Control-C on a PC, and then on a Mac it would be Control-D as in deselect, and Command-D, okay, on a Mac. All right, next we're going to go with the elliptical or the ellipse marquee tool. In this case, we're going to make a new layer. So we're going to go over to our layers palette, go to the bottom, okay, to the left of the trash can, there's a little thing that looks like a piece of paper with the corner folded up. You click on that and you get a new blank layer, okay? All right, we have our ellipse marquee, our ellipse tool, you know, selected there. We have a new selection or replace selected over here. Since we have this on a new layer, we can make it go over my face there. All right. And again, I'm going to do that again, Command D. I'm on a Mac, so if you click and drag, you can make the selection into a circle, an oval. You can change the dimensions of your shape. Okay, so get the shape to the size and dimensions that you would like, and then you can let go and you have your selection. All right, so this time I think that I am going to use the gradient tool. All right, with the gradient tool we can change the colors of the gradient up here. Okay, we've got red. I'm going to make this into a darker red. You change the color stop by double clicking on the square. And I'm going to choose like just a darker red color, make it a little more subtle gradient. Push OK and OK. All right, so when using the gradient tool, if I click and drag across the whole picture, notice that I don't see a whole lot of the gradient. That's because the gradient goes all the way from one side of the picture to the other. I'm only picking up a very small center section of that gradient. If I instead click and drag, you know, from one end of the selection to another, okay, then I see the entire gradient. So you can create 3D effects, you know, on your selection with this tool. We can go to the radial marquee, the radial gradient, okay? And then I can click and drag from the center here to make it look like, you know, it's some kind of a sphere. Okay, there we go. One more time. All right, so that looks pretty good. So next I'm going to deselect, select and deselect. All right. So remember, now that this is on its own layer, I can move it around and I can go to edit and I can change the size of it. I can, you know, tilt it. I can hold the shift key and make it proportionally smaller, or I can let go of the shift key and change it into a circle. So there I'm changing it into a circle. Okay, and I'm gonna commit that change. Okay, and move that around. Keep in mind that we have learned about the blending modes, and I'm real quick going to just show you that you can, you know, use the shape that you've created, okay, to create blending modes. But the nice thing, you know, we can move this around. Looks like a little bubble now, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to move this over here. Okay, so we can work on our next selection tool. Okay, and the next selection tool is in the next box down. It is called the Lasso Select. Okay, with the Lasso Select allows you to draw freeform to create your selection. So on this one, I'm going to go to my main picture, go to the bottom layer with my photo on it, and I'm going to draw around a part of the picture. So I'm going to just go here and kind of free form draw around my eye. If I don't like the shape, I can Command D it. Okay, so let's see. There we go, something more like that. All right, so now that I have my selection, another thing I can do is edit, copy, okay, and edit, paste. So it copied the selection. Since I'm on the picture layer, it's copying the picture, and now I'm going to paste it. Notice the selection went away and I got a new layer added here. Now I don't really see it on the picture, but if I use the move tool, then I can see I have it, okay, right here, and I can move it around. All right, since there's a blending mode on this one, the picture is going underneath, okay, that circle. Okay, so it's affecting, so it's allowing me to see that through it. Okay. All right, so that was the lasso tool. Okay, and then the last one we're going to do here is called the Polygonal Lasso tool. And again, I'm going to make a new layer for this one. With the Polygonal Lasso tool, it allows you to make things, shapes that have straight lines and angles or polygons. Okay, to create a polygon, you're going to click and let go and drag it out to make the straight line. Okay, click and drag, and I'm going to click again. Okay, click, click, click. Okay, so each time I click and then I drag, okay, until I come around to where I started. I'm going to click on that and close in the shape. All right, I'm going to fill it in. Let's fill it in with a color. Okay, and this time I think I'm going to use the paint bucket tool, which is under the gradient tool. Click it on that and it fills in the shape that we created. So we're going to go to edit, and we're going to go to select and deselect. All right, and now I have this shape. I can, you know, for example, I can maybe bring the opacity down, or again, I can try using the various blending modes. All right, you can decide and experiment with what you want to do with that. Okay. All right, now one thing we haven't talked about yet is how to add to or subtract from a selection. So I'm going to go up here to the rectangular select, okay, and I'm going to create a shape right here. Okay, and then if we go to the next one, the unite, that's adding to the selection. All right, so I can click and drag and it adds this part to my selection. Okay, I can also subtract from the selection. I'm going to switch over to the elliptical marquee tool and go to subtract from, and I'm going to subtract a circle out of the center of my shape there. All right, next I think I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to go ahead and use the paint bucket tool again. All right, and choose a different color. All right, and okay. All right, and fill it in. There we go. Okay, so whoops, I've got to deselect, select, deselect, and now I can move this shape around. Okay, it's kind of cool because you can, you know, let things show through the shape. Okay, and blending modes, of course, we can try that out to try different, you know, doing different things. Okay, so those are the things we're going to be looking at in the very first video. If you do a practice image and you should save it to show me what you did. So we're going to save it, go to File, Export As. If you want to go back and, well, let's save it as a JPEG first, which is a flattened compressed image. And that's the one you're going to use to upload to just show me that you did this. We're going to drag it onto the desktop. But if you would like to save it and go back and change it later, you can save it as a PSD or Photoshop document, which is a larger file, but it saves all the layers so you can go back and change them. All right, make sure you put these into your file for our double exposure assignment if you are using this for the class. All right, so that is it for our first video. Bye.